Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, and this video is extremely late because the criminals, the powers that be, the control freaks, the satanic losers that live in Jackson County, Kentucky, have been using their weapons on me to put me to sleep at will. And that has been going on since 11 p.m. last night until 3 a.m. this morning. Yes. Every time I sit down to do something, they knock me out because they don't want me to be successful or sell my property, which I will be doing, by the way. So anyway, I wanted to mention something that I read a couple of days ago on Quora, and this is written by Spirit of Everlasting Endurance Space. And he or she goes on to say the plot thickens. Most true targets have something or several things of value. This could be heightened senses, talents, gifts, DNA, blood, spiritual strength, physical strength or mental strength, all or some or even more attributes. The elites would not go through the depth and resources to hunt a person if said person was not of value. It's something that they truly want to own and control as well as profit from. And I've said this before. They're not going to hunt losers. If they were hunting losers, that would make them a double loser, because losers hunting losers is a double loser. The losers only hunt winners. And this individual goes on to say that the elites would not go through the depth and resources to hunt a person if that person was not of value. If something that they truly want to own and control as well as profit from. So these people are greedy. They want to profit off of you and I. This systemic attack of stalking and harassment brings about the best in a person if they learn to stay calm and overcome the fear tactics. Here they get a glimpse of your true character and gifts. I'm telling you this to help other truly targeted people. Please research those who are following your social media or made some sort of contact for business or medical purposes, especially groups of doctors and lawyers. This will give you insight as to what they truly want from you, as well as who your hunters are. Well, I thought that was interesting. I'm sure you do too. Now, one of the subscribers, so let's see if I can find it here. Sent me a little email because I started this series on who I was before my gang stalking, and she said yes, you could read this on the channel. It's only a couple of sentences long. One short one which should give you a chuckle. Who I was before my gang stalking. I was a skinny hoe. I'll have to add, I can be reading and thinking about something else. I was never scholastic. I skipped 62 days of school in my junior high school year and 63 in my senior year. I managed to graduate high school, but I didn't go to college. I got with a man who was a real estate developer in my early 20s and stayed with him until I was 28. He was 10 million away from being a billionaire when I left him for a carpenter with a worn-out pickup truck and broke as a joke. I went into sales after me and Howard teamed up. We sold resort properties. I left him about 6 years later, moved back to my folks' house, and got in designer fragrance sales, the path of least resistance. I did that 20 years until I had to go to jail over his bullshit. And when I got out of prison, I couldn't do jack shit anymore. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's an anonymous female, by the way. And I'm going to read a little bit, a couple of pages on the book Mobbing, Emotional Abuse in the American Workplace. And remember, mobbing does not only happen in the workplace. It happens in your community. It happens with your local governments. It happens in schools. It happens at the supermarket. Mobbing involves usually 2 or more people in a position of authority that have it within their ability to stop what's happening to you and choose to participate or turn a blind eye. And according to this book, they call it vulturing. And it's a term I'd not heard before. They call it vulturing. So why mobbing occurs and persists? Why does mobbing happen in a civilized society and in organizations that profess to value human resources? The mobbing phenomenon is too complex to just blame it on one cause, for example, the bully boss, or like the neighborhood bully. We suggest it comes about through the interaction of 5 elements that all play their part. They relate to each other and reinforce each other. They constitute a system. The parts are the psychology and the circumstance of the mobbers, the organizational culture and structure, the psychology, personality, and circumstances of the mobbee, so that would be the victim, a triggering event, a conflict, and factors outside of the organization, for example, values and norms in the United States culture. In understanding all of these parts and their interrelation, we may be better equipped at finding solutions. Our exploration draws on different disciplines such as psychology, sociology, anthropology, and biology, as well as management theory. The psychology and circumstances of the mobbers. Now these are your gang stalkers too. So mobbing, it's no different. Mobbing in the workplace, mobbing in a university, mobbing by your home and your community. It's gang stalking. It's community-oriented policing. The cops program, the go along to get alongs, the sheeple people, the jealous neighbors that want what you've got, but they don't want to pay for it. They want to steal it. You know, the ones that give you the dirty looks when they drive by. Or what about the witches? Witches are mobbers too. They form little cults, little covens, little mobbing covens, little mobbing witches. There's no empirical research dealing with the psychology of the mobbers. Now remember, this book is dated 1999. We suggest that the mobber's actions derive from his or her inability to value life and difference, from pretense and dishonesty, from an inflated sense of self, and from a need for self-aggrandizement. And you could see the expressions on their faces, especially the narcissists, you know, with the grin, the smirky grin. The personality of the mobber has been described with such traits as excessively controlling, cowardly, neurotic, power-hungry. Many of his or her actions may be driven by jealousy and envy derived from feelings of insecurity and fear. So they're fearful, they're afraid of you. Mobbing occurs because people, sometimes without even realizing their harmful ways, act in an evil manner. Unequivocally, we believe the actions and the psychology of the mobbers are central in attempting to understand mobbing reasons. Lehman, Leyman, maintains that people resort to mobbing to cover up their own deficiencies. And we've said that so many times. It's a projection of who they are. right? They call you a skinny little whore. Well, guess what? They're doing it with the local pastor while they're married. They call you something, it's what they are. It's a projection of who they are. They can't stand themselves. Lehman maintains that people resort to mobbing to cover up their own deficiencies. Their fear and insecurity about their own reputation or position compel them to denigrate someone else. He sees mainly 4 reasons why individuals would engage in mobbing behaviors. So these are all the people that are hired to stalk you. These are all your neighbors. These are the county officials that go along to get along. Number 1, to force someone to adapt to a group norm. Well, most of the targeted people I've met, spoken to, they're not cheapo people. They're independent thinkers. They're not going to adapt to some group norm. If they don't adapt, they'll have to go, would be the reasoning of someone driven by these motives. Belief that group can only be cohesive and strong if certain uniformity exists, which is total crock of BS. Some of the most famous inventions in society have been done by loners. Have been invented by loners. Number 2, to revel in animosity. Some people love chaos. People engage in mobbing to eliminate those they don't like. Well, do you have any idea how many people I don't like? When I don't like somebody, I ignore them. I'm not going to waste my time and energy on somebody that I don't like. It does not really matter where they are in the organizational hierarchy, superiors, coworkers, subordinates alike, your criminal perpetrator neighbors, the cops, mobs, swaps, slops, dops, the dog walkers, etc. When driven by personal dislikes, not prejudices, they can initiate the process. Number 3, to gain pleasure out of boredom. Sadistically motivated mobbers derive pleasure from the torment they inflict. Their primary intent might not necessarily be to get rid of the person, because if they get rid of the person, they'll be bored again. They need somebody to take their sadistic pleasure out on. Number 4, to reinforce prejudices. People use mobbing behaviors because they dislike or hate people who happen to belong to a certain social, racial, or ethnic group. And in the United States context, this is clearly discrimination, and the civil rights laws protect anybody that may be mobbed based upon discrimination. Then, of course, there's the evil personality, and we know nothing about those evil personalities, right? In his book, People of the Lie, psychiatrist M. Scott Peck exposes a theory of the evil personality. Peck contends that evil is that force residing either inside or outside a human being that seeks to kill life or liveliness. Evil people use power to destroy the spiritual growth of others for the purpose of defending and preserving the integrity of their own sick selves. In short, it is scapegoating. In Peck's words, because in their hearts they consider themselves above reproach, they must lash out at anyone who does reproach them. They sacrifice others to preserve their self-image of perfection. Oh yeah, they're so perfect. And then, of course, there are people that think that they've got some divine right to harass you. In the book Brutal Bosses and Their Prey, Hornstein talks about the divine right of bosses who, because they work in an organizational hierarchy, consider their prerogative to exercise their power as they please. And that could be those people that are part of lodges and covens. They feel they have some divine right to harass you. Whomever reports to them is seen as automatically inferior. All these behaviors may be accentuated in situations of stress and demand of high performance. Additionally, people aspiring to high positions are often power hungry. They're not leaders, they're quasi-leaders. Abuse comes from feeling weak and worthless because using the power of their role to compensate. So they're little losers. Oh, and then you may be threatening their egotism, their inflated self-appraisal. Howard's insights fit Roy Baumeister and his colleagues' theory. They say, what drives people to commit violent and oppressive actions may come from threatened egotism, particularly when it consists of favorable self-appraisals that may be inflated or ill-founded, and that are confronted with an external evaluation that disputes them. And I'm sure that every targeted person I know could very easily do that just by opening their mouths. The explanation is that anger is being directed outward as a way of avoiding a downward revision of their self-concept. These people hate themselves, so they've got to project it onto you. Their explanation of the threatened self-image would fit the circumstance of many incidences experienced by us and partners that they interviewed. Now remember, this is in the course of employment. This book is on mobbing in the workplace. Instead of feeling proud of having someone of exceptional qualities, like in the workplace, on board, they feel threatened. One man says, I wanted to support the change. I asked him, am I on your team? He said, yes, but clearly I had a feeling he was lying. They play on loyalty. They say, I want you to stick around, be part of the team. Then they cover their butts. They get their feet on the ground, but then, I'm a very loyal person, but loyalty is a two-way street. When loyalty ceases on that other side, my loyalty stops. A lot of people keep on being loyal. You expect me to give and give, but you don't give? I'll dust off my resume, he goes on to say. Peck, in his analysis of evil, presents the thesis that evil can be defined as a specific form of mental illness. I agree. There's the sadistic personality that I did some research on my channel. I'll post that link in the comments section, in the description section. The sadistic personality. Peck, in his analysis of evil, says that evil can be defined as a specific form of a mental illness. However, who can conceive of leaders in companies having a mental illness? Well, yeah, most of them are narcissists. Some of them are psychopaths. And yet, it may happen for two reasons. For one, carefully selected CEOs or other staff may have these traits, and they might conceal them really well. And, as Hornstein contends, they might actually have been selected for that very reputation to have an iron hand at streamlining, for example, mobbing people at the company or in the community, right? We all know the FBI, They laugh and chuckle behind everybody's backs that they got the go along to get alongs and their fake badges. It makes them feel so special because they designed this program to enact using people around you that they have already surveilled. They have already psychologically profiled to use for their benefit against you and I. So they have already chosen the psychopaths in your neighborhood. They've already chosen the malignant narcissists. And they're using them to their advantage. Yes, then there's the narcissistic personality. In their book, Work Abuse, Judith White and Chauncey Hare go on to as far as saying, clinically speaking, any socially dysfunctional person who feels entitled to use power to control others that he's afraid of, who lives in a pretentious fantasy rather than reality, and who consistently views himself as superior to his fellow human beings, he craves being told so, has a mental disorder called narcissistic personality disorder, according to the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic Statistical Manual. People generally do not harass an individual based upon who or she he is, but rather based upon what that individual represents to them. What may seem to be petty office politics is, in Marilyn Moat Kennedy's words, office warfare or community warfare. Envy, jealousy, aspirations being challenged are reasons individuals mob. There you go. Envy, jealousy, aspirations, which is greed. They want what you have. Coworkers might resent someone for performing better, for looking better, for being more liked. They fear others' competence. They don't like that you're competent. They don't like that you're intelligent. They don't like that you're older and look better than they do when they're 20 years younger than you. They can't stand that shit. Their performance can now be judged against someone else who's doing better, who is smarter, who's more productive. Subordinates or co-workers who initiate mobbing can be guided by a wish to attain that person's job. Meanwhile, if they got the person's job, they would not be able to perform the tasks that the person of a superior productivity would be doing. They want to climb the ladder, but not based upon their performance, but by an attempt to eliminate those who might be in their way. So I'm going to end there because it's late. I need to get some sleep, despite what these criminals do. But this is taken from the book, Mobbing, Emotional Abuse in the Workplace. It's an important book. It sheds light on great suffering and proposes ideas to reduce this suffering. And thank you all for subscribing and listening. Please leave a comment down below if you've been mobbed in the workplace, and if you feel that mobbing and gangstalking are pretty much the same. I'm going to sign off for now. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you guys soon.